Well, speaking of elections, in Miami, NBC is airing the third Republican presidential debate. The debate is at Miami-Dade County Center for the Performing Arts. Yep, for performing arts, because pretending you have a shot when you're polling at 1%, well, that's acting.
Who has 1%? Who's the 1%er that's going to be on the stage with the, it's Democrat propaganda machine? They're not funny, but at least it's propaganda. And they are consistent, very, very consistent. Their dissemination of propaganda. Well, it was a big night last night. Elections in various states across our great nation. Virginia, it's abortion, abortion, abortion. Ohio, it's abortion, it's abortion, abortion. They got a good day in Mississippi for the beat Elvis Presley's cousin. They ran Elvis Presley's cousin for governor. He doesn't seem very Elvis, but it doesn't matter. He's got the name. He's, well, not Elvis, but Presley. He's got the name Presley, and boy, that's amazing. And we got a couple of governors. We've got everything down to the school boards. The Washington Post very excited this morning. They were touching themselves. I could tell they were. It was kind of an online thing. It was almost like a CNN corporate Zoom call, but they're very excited because the lefties actually won the school board contests in county after county in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you know what that means, don't you? More tranny kindergarten. They got more transgender kids and the sexualizing first grade students, and because the Democrats have gotten really weird when it comes to this stuff. But boy, they know how to, I'll just say, take an election. They know how to take an election, don't they? They from the school board in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, bad night for Glenn Youngkin. The Democrats now control the state assembly and the state senate because the Democrats won. You know, they won this and they won that in Virginia. And an awful lot of it has to do with abortion, 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 because, as you know, like Al-Qaeda, it was Al-Qaeda that coined the phrase, like Al-Qaeda, they love death more than we love life. And now the Republicans, they have to figure out what they're going to say because there's a big presidential election coming up next year. You might have heard something about that. And the abortion thing is their favorite boy. And it works for them because women vote. And apparently a lot of women have views that don't marry up with some conservative pro-life Republicans who are often men. Not always, but often men. And the Democrats, they know how to message. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. They know how to message as a verb. And the Republicans, as we know, do not know how to message as a verb. So, and they haven't hired me for $20 million yet. I could help a lot, but they like losing. It's amazing how they like losing. So in Virginia, the Democrats flipped the House and they held the Senate. They already controlled the Senate, but they flipped the House, which the Republicans had control of until last night, and they already had control of the Senate and they held on to the Senate. The Republicans, terrible people that they are, the abortion, they're talking about limiting abortion to 15 weeks, which is, I think it's 14 weeks in France, where the Democrats in Virginia all like to go on vacation. And it's 10 weeks in Portugal. I think that's right, 10 weeks in Portugal. But if you want a moderate position, as Governor Glenn Youngkin has proposed, of 15 weeks, with some exceptions, that's not good enough for the Democrats because they want to be able to chop right up to the moment of birth and sometimes even beyond, if you ask former Democrat Governor Glenn Youngkin, because, you know, that's their thing. The Democrats, they dominate early voting. They get all the mail-out stuff, and they dominate early voting. And the Democrats dominated in spending because Republicans, you know, we're not as crazy about politics, obviously, as they are. I played the audio yesterday of a nice young man who was working at a polling place, Republican in Arlington, Virginia, who was accosted and verbally assaulted and apparently threatened by a typical Democrat who's mentally unbalanced and dangerous and just teetering on the brink of violence. And then there was another one. You see another one pulled up in his minivan and shouting homophobic slurs at Republican poll workers. There were poll workers there. And these Democrats, when did all the Democrats become so mentally ill? And they love jihad. They love Hamas, and they want to see Israel wiped out from the river to the sea. Just completely crazy. But a big loss, I've got to say, for Governor Glenn Youngkin, who was pushing to take the Senate and just hold the House in Richmond, Virginia. And that didn't work out. So a big win for the Democrats in the Commonwealth of Virginia. They got these crazy haters out there on the street threatening people. They're white guys. You see, they're both white guys. So that's good for the Democrats. Also in Ohio, the Democrats put an abortion measure on the ballot, and the pro-abortion measure won 56% to 43%, which in today's environment is a veritable landslide after the Dobbs decision. Have we found out who leaked that from the Supreme Court? Has that young woman working for a Democrat appointee? Where's the leak of the Dobbs? Just no accountability. Washington is an accountability-free city. You're going to lie if you're a Democrat. You can lie under oath to the Senate again and again about spying on us. No problem. Lying under oath to Congress is not a thing. But in Ohio, they passed the yes to abortion thing, 56% to 43%. And I've got to say, I'm not terribly shocked by any of this because the Republicans were lagging in fundraising. The Democrats won the fundraising battle. The Democrats, we were being carpet bombed here on television with the pro-abortion TV ads that never ended. The demonization doesn't matter whether it's true. The media doesn't fact check Democrats. They can lie all they want and it's all fine. But the Republicans lost the abortion battle. They've lost the abortion war. And this is likely to carry over into next year's bigger, more important elections, the presidential election, a third of the Senate, the entire House of Representatives, and abortion, because the Dobbs decision in the Supreme Court threw out Roe v. Wade, 1973 decision. Now it goes to the states. And when the states get to decide, well, the states get to decide. And Ohio, pro-abortion, 56 to 43%. They also legalized recreational pot in Ohio because, get stoned. Why don't we do it in the road and then get an abortion? It's a Democrat world. We're just living in it. But I've got to say, the Republicans just don't do a good job when it comes to several things like politics, for example. The Republican Party is not good at politics. And it would be better, since that's their line of work, if they were good at politics. But the Republican Party, writ large, writ small, not very good at politics and not good at messaging. All they had was the Bidenomics and the terrible economy, the open borders, the crime wave that is everywhere, carjacking, murder rates, the defunding the police, crime mayhem everywhere. Our cities are virtually on fire. And things are bad. And all the polls show that people are unhappy with the economy, with the open borders, disapprove of Biden, and that means the Democrats on all of these really major issues that are affecting us. Our grocery store shelves are empty. This so-called supply chain thing. Has that been resolved, Mike? Because you don't hear anything about the supply chain thing. Yet a lot of my grocery store shelves are still empty. Although that may be because of the looting. That could be because the Democrats have made looting a mainstream Democrat value as well. But it's not like the Republicans have nothing to run on. They just don't know how to run on the issues that they have. And lots of people in this city, Washington, D.C., are making millions and millions of dollars every year telling the Republicans what to say, and they should all be fired. Every damn one of them should be fired and grabbed by the ear, like a nun pulling you out of the classroom. Sorry, having a flashback. They, all of them should be grabbed by the ear and pulled out of their offices and thrown onto Massachusetts Avenue, Gesundheit, because they're awful at their jobs. GOP messaging, please, come on. the economy, gas prices, food prices, empty store shelves, open border, crime, mayhem, mass murderers from Brazil being captured, mass murder from Brazil being the manhunt going on for weeks in Pennsylvania. Our cities, people are fleeing our cities. And the Republicans just don't know how to run. They don't know how to do politics. Politics is not really their lane, the Republican Party. It's sort of an amazing thing. All these great things to run on. I don't think I saw a single ad as I was being carpet bombed with all the Republicans are going to kill your mother and nobody will have a choice when it comes to harvesting organs. They just amazing how bad the Republicans are at messaging. And again, and you got to fact check their fake ads and stuff because, the news media is not going to do it for you. And late night TV is not going to do it for you. They're doing it for the Democrats. But they've got to learn how to fight. And I don't know how many decades we have to say this. Hey, maybe the Republicans should learn how to fight. Maybe the Republicans should learn how to message. Maybe the Republicans should take a page or two from the Donald Trump playbook because he punches back, counterpunch. You got all these phrases, all this stuff. And the Republicans don't know how to bumper stickerize anything. But what are you going to do? When they give me $20 million, I'll help them. I help them for free every day, but that doesn't seem to take. In Mississippi, Tate Reeves, the Republican, won the governor's race with 51.8%, not exactly a landslide, over Brandon Presley, the second cousin of Elvis. Every time they mention his name, every reporter says a relative of, and there was one yesterday that made me laugh out loud. They said Brandon Presley, the second cousin of Elvis Presley, who was a rock icon. Really? Are we that dumb? Have we fallen that far behind? You have to explain who Elvis Presley. The rock icon? Oh, I thought maybe you were talking about some other Elvis Presley. I'm not sure. Amazing stuff. Doot. Amazing. And in Kentucky, they had a gubernatorial race too. And the Democrat, Andy Beshear, won. And this is a state that Donald Trump won with 62% of the vote. But the Republican lost with only 47.5% of the vote. And he's the attorney general of the state. The Democrats demonized him. He's an African-American man. And the racist Democrats didn't vote for him. I'm going to apply the Obama rule here. If you don't vote for the African-American candidate, it's because you're a racist. Because you may recall that anyone that didn't vote for Barack Obama was labeled as a racist by the Democrats and the media and late night TV and Hollywood and pretty much every place else. But in Kentucky, the African-American Daniel Cameron, who's a good guy, really good guy, the attorney general, he lost to the white guy, Andy Beshear, whose dad was the governor. I ain't no senator's son. No, I'm a governor's son. But in a state that Trump won with 62% of the vote, amazingly, the Democrat won and the Republican lost. And the Republican is the African-American. So the racist Democrats, once again, show their racist colors by their racist vote. And you know what the Democrats did? They demonized the Attorney General, African-American, Republican, Daniel Cameron, with that Breonna Taylor story. That Breonna Taylor, remember, she was the one that was shot in her home by the police and killed after her boyfriend opened fire on the police. Remember that? With a gun, shooting at the police coming in to serve a warrant because of her involvement with her drug dealer pals. But she's the hero of the story. That's what information dominance can do for you. Also, huge amounts of money, a money advantage for the Democrat there, Andy Beshear. Disadvantage for the African-American Republican that the racist Democrats with their racist history didn't vote for. And the Democrats won the Loudoun County School Board, the Fairfax County School Board. What other school board in Virginia? Democrats winning all the school boards. So more transgender tricks for kids. Trans is for kids. It's like tricks are for kids, but trans is for kids. Amazing. President Trump has talked about the compromise on the abortion issue, which was the big issue. Also, Rashida Tlaib became the 26th member of Congress to ever be censored because she's a genocidal racist, which is very much in the mainstream of the Democrat Party today. Genocidal racism. And she is an extremist and a fanatic. And again, the Republicans don't know how to message, and they're afraid of everything. But they don't know how to bumper stickerize anything. Honestly. You guys really need to pick up. We've been hearing this since the 1980s. The Republicans really need to know how to be in politics, how to message as a verb, how to bumper stickerize messages, and how to destroy these insane fringe radical Democrats that keep winning on things like, we're going to turn your little girl into a little boy, and the Democrats win. That means the Republicans aren't doing something right. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Hey, what happened to that that Democrat porn woman in Virginia? Susanna Gibson, who was the live online porn Democrat. She lost her race, which means that the Democrats are racist, I think, doesn't it? They wanted her to keep her night job so they could keep watching her, But she lost. I'm surprised. Susanna Gibson with her live porn streaming stuff. She lost in Virginia. What's that? I know it's not about morality because morality never enters the conversation with the Democrat Party. They just want to harvest more organs, seize more power. That's it. All right, let's grab a phone call. Michael, let's go to James calling from Tyson's Corner, Virginia. James, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you very kindly for taking my call, and grateful for everything that you do. And I just maybe wanted to be that guy to put a premise out there. I agree with just about everything he said, snatching victory from the jaws of the defeat. Something they do on a consistent basis, but what if at this point they just don't want to win? What if they'd rather go ahead and be, tolerated opposition in a Biden or Obama-dominated republic where they just get their kickbacks? It's the same consultants. It's the same people at the RNC. It's the same leadership at the Senate level. They seem to be in on the game and would prefer the status quo than doing anything different. The only thing that I can judge them on is their actions, and their actions seem to be complicit more or less in the destruction of the republic. A pretty cynical view, but it's hard as the average guy on the street to kind of look at it any different way. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there and see perhaps what the audience and yourself might think of that. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They just don't seem to want to win. Or maybe they like where they're at.
James, it's the Uniparty and the machine in D.C., and I want to talk about this when I come back. Now, there is a nice lady who works in politics and political things, and Carrie Tolachenko, I'm going to go with Tolachenko, National Conservatism Conference, and seems like a very nice and serious and intelligent person. And Carrie Tolachenko, National Training Director and Fellow at the Conservative Partnership Institute Election Integrity Network. And Carrie wrote in an X post, she wrote regarding Virginia. She says, before you either succumb to or spread Democrat talking points about Virginia, let me help explain. Abortion and Virginia's horrendous election laws. Under the previous Democrat governor, was that the Klansman, Ralph, or Terry McAwful, because they had these terrible Democrat governors there. There were 60 changes to election laws. Why would election laws need 60 changes under a Democrat governor? There are nearly no ballot protections left, Kerry writes. She said these included no voter ID, either to register to vote or when you're voting on Election Day, and same-day registration with no ID necessary. Abortion is purposely placed on ballots and then the left activates on college campuses. So in addition to abortion driving up young liberal voter numbers, a University of Virginia college student who is a resident of, say, Ohio, can walk into any polling station on Election Day without any ID, any proof of legal residence, and cast a valid vote. Not a provisional vote, on Election Day. Nobody should be stunned, she says, at this result. It went exactly as the left planned. Legal cheating, she puts in quotation marks, is not an oxymoron. Now, the news media, of course, with the headline, Glenn Youngkin stunned in Virginia as Democrats flip House and retain Senate control. Republican touted as White House candidate suffers crushing blow on home turf as abortion rights take center stage. And it's it's an Election Day thing, and the Democrats, they get also in Ohio, they had the abortion issue on the ballot, and the news media couldn't be more excited. USA Today says Ohio voters vote to protect abortion. That's a funny word, protect, isn't it? To protect abortion. Legalize marijuana. Also, the abortion legislation, the abortion thing that they put on the ballot. It's not legislation. It was a ballot initiative. It opens the door to abortions right up until the day of birth, and underage girls without notifying parents, because Democrats love that one. That's one of their favorite things. And at the same time, they legalized the marijuana. So you put the abortion initiative on the ballot, so you get a huge turnout from women, particularly young women. And you put legalized marijuana for recreational use on the ballot, and you get another huge turnout, primarily from young voters who are just like, cool, man. And that's look, pot's being legalized everywhere. It's legalized in Washington, D.C. It's legalized in Maryland. I'm not sure about Virginia, to tell you the truth. But all over the country, you're seeing pot being legalized. Illinois, it's everywhere you go, America smells like people smoking pot, because everywhere you go, people are smoking pot, which I don't think is necessarily the biggest deal in the world. But as a political issue, it's a huge winner for the Democrats. You're going to legalize it. It's a big vote getter. The abortion thing, huge vote getter. And, it's a mad world. And the Republicans just can't win an argument. I don't think they can even argue an argument, much less win an argument. But when it comes to the Democrats changing the voting laws in the Commonwealth of Virginia, where was that? Where are the Republicans fighting that fight? And now they were nowhere is the answer. And now the Democrats control the state House and the state Senate, and that's that, as they say. They don't have to steal the elections; they just change all the election laws. And the Republicans sit there with their heads, just nowhere to be found. Amazing stuff. It's the Democrats are good at politics, and they have no morals. This is one of the keys to their success. They have no morals whatsoever. They're immoral or amoral as a political party, certainly, and they love death more than we love life. And it is politically, we've talked about this before, but not an awful lot necessarily. The Republican position, if you're going to say we're going to have a 6-week limit, and they allow the Democrats to define the discussion as a ban. Oh, it's a ban. The Republicans want to ban abortion at 15 weeks. They want to have a limit, and they allow the Democrats to define the terms of the debate and say that take away a woman's right to choose at 16 weeks, which is 4 months, And they win the argument every time. They have the media entirely in their camp, of course. But 15 weeks is a more generous limitation than France. than most of Western Europe, for that matter, and much more accommodating than most of Eastern Europe. But never mind that. So it's a big win for the Democrats in Ohio with their abortion ballot initiative and with their legalized pot initiative. Big turnout from Democrats, and Republicans take a drubbing there. They did beat the Elvis Presley wannabe, though, which is kind of fun, in Mississippi. And there aren't a lot of great victories to point to yesterday's elections. And this is the harbinger of what we may see next November, when, in theory, Joe Biden will be on the ballot and Donald Trump will be on the ballot, and every member of the House of Representatives will be on the ballot, and the Democrats plan on winning back the House. They want to make Nancy Pelosi the Speaker again. Think they'd make Nancy, or would they have Hakeem Jeffries? What do you think? I don't know. They're such racists. It's hard to say. All right, let's take another call. And there's a lot more to. And then the Rashida Tlaib. Did you see these squad members go to the House floor yesterday? They are mentally ill, and the media loves mental illness as long as they're genocidal Democrats that are expressing their mental illness in public. But let's, in the meantime, go to the telephones. We are at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Jay, calling from Toledo, Ohio. Jay, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing today?
I'm great. Jay, what do you know?
Oh, yeah, it was a bad night for being a conservative, I think, all over the place.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's and here in Ohio, the mess, like you were saying earlier, the messaging is terrible from the conservative side. Here in Ohio, they had, for that abortion thing, they were trotting out the girl that had to go to Indiana because of the abortion ban, as just
right,
which was debunked a year ago. And then on the conservative side, they had our governor come out and tell why you should vote against it. And I just don't think that, the messaging was just completely off here in Ohio, yeah, it's bad. My grandpa, he's the first Hispanic House of Representative in the state house here in Ohio ever, and he would be sorely disappointed in what's going on in America. I wish I could pick his brain just one time to see what he thought, But yeah, the messaging is just awful, and I'm really worried about next November. I really am.
Well, after last night, that's not unreasonable, Jay. And this messaging that Jay is talking about is the story that they put out was a 10-year-old girl who was a rape victim, couldn't get an abortion in Ohio because of the terrible Republicans, and had to go all the way to Indiana, which is next door, by the way, to get an abortion because, as a 10-year-old in Ohio who was raped by a Democrat, presumably that, she had to go all the way to the state next door to get an abortion because of the child. Now, I assume they bombarded everyone with TV ads talking about that, right, Jay? And that the Republicans don't know how to rebut anything, and the news media just carries the falsehood, right?
Well, I mean that's the main thing is, and I've noticed more and more over the last few years. It's just I voted yesterday, and it was almost one of those things where I was like, why should I even vote? I know what's going to happen, but at the same time, that's my job to go in and make my voice known, whether it passes or loses, regardless. So I did my duty as an American, but. Yeah, the messaging has just been, and especially, after 2016, it seems like the messaging just got worse, has gotten worse and worse over the last few years. And we're just taking more defeats and losing our country more and more every day. I don't even recognize the country anymore, and it's a shame.
Yeah. And it's the Democrat Party, and it's the left. And you said something. You said, why should I even vote? And, you're obviously a normal person, a well-adjusted person, an intelligent person, a well-informed person, and you're shaking your head because the Republicans left you just barely inspired enough to get off the couch and go out and vote, whereas the Democrats have people out, screaming curse words at poll workers and using homophobic slurs against Republican poll and threatening. That's how enthusiastic the Democrats are. They're going to start burning our cities down again, which they've demonstrated they're fond of doing. They're going to, loot all the stores in your neighborhood. And our last caller, James, was talking about how the Republicans snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and he's talking about really what James was talking about was the uniparty and Washington and the Republicans just rolling over and like they want to lose and just maintain the status quo. So you, Jay, and James, our previous caller, two Republican voters, are saying, well, the RNC, doesn't know how to do their job. They just prefer the status quo as our country continues, as you said, Jay, to be destroyed by the left because they're not liberals, they're the left. But the Republicans consistently snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They've got so many great issues to run on, but they don't appear to know how to capitalize on those extraordinary issues. Whereas the Democrats, with the help of the media, no doubt, and late night TV and every place else, they've got a lot of help that Republicans don't have. But that's something that they've had 50 years to overcome as a Republican Party. And they have failed again and again and again. The early voting thing, the mail-out ballots, the changes to election laws. But then there's also the spending. The Democrats outpace on fundraising. The Democrats outpace on turnout. And they, they know how to capitalize on political issues and turn them into issues that work for them. And therefore they win with crime off the charts, with people afraid to go into American cities from coast to coast, the Democrats defunding police, the riots, the violence, the economy in the dumper, with war in the Middle East and war in Europe, with an open border, with mayhem and gang warfare in our cities, with mass murdering Brazilian being captured, literally 11 murders, and escaped prison and shows up in the United States. The Republicans don't know how to capitalize on anything. And the Democrats know how to demonize the hell out of Republicans. Republicans have no idea. We don't want to be impolite. We don't want to demonize these psychotic pro-jihad Democrats who are part of the squad. No, you smear them. And the thing is, you can do it by telling the truth about the Democrats, but the Republicans still can't do that. And so they're very disappointing. And Jay, you're expressing your disappointment. James expressing his disappointment, not just with the losses, but with the fact that the Republican Party just didn't show up. Where the hell are they? Where's the Republican Party leader? Of course, President Trump is busy pinned down with Democrat hacks, third world banana republic hacks that are trying to put their political enemy in prison like they do in the Philippines and in Bhutan, and it's amazing. So, Jay, what's your advice for the Republican Party? Jay.
Well, I'm a hockey guy. Here's what I think you should do.
Yeah.
Sometimes in hockey, if a guy comes at you and he doesn't want to fight, you throw the gloves off and you jump him. It's time we throw the gloves off and start jumping him.
That's better advice than anything the RNC has offered up in about 5 years. It honestly is. They got to fight the fight. And again, they learned nothing from Donald Trump. And you don't have to mimic or impersonate Donald Trump. Nobody could anyway. But learn that fighting often works and that Republican voters want people to fight for us, for our country, for our traditions, for our customs, for our culture, for our jobs, for our economy, for our sovereignty, for sanity in American cities so that we don't slip into Mad Max beyond Thunderdome, which so many cities have already done in effect. But we have a Republican Party and, the RNC, for God's sake, who's in charge here? And we kind of know who's in charge, but they're not doing anything. There's a Republican Party debate tonight, and everybody knows it's just, and they have NBC News hosting it. Really? That's your idea. NBC News is going to, and poor Hugh Hewitt has been thrown in there. Got this Ronna McDaniel, Ronna Romney McDaniel, and she's the head of the RNC. Where has she been? Is she in Gitmo? Where is she like being held hostage in a tunnel in Gaza? Because she's been doing nothing and getting nothing done, and the fundraising is substandard, and the marketing and the messaging non-existent, and there is no fight in that fight coming from the Republican National Committee and Ronna Romney McDaniel. That might explain it all right there, Romney. You think that might be it? But the Republican Party once again fails, flails, and then they can come out and shrug and say, well, gosh, at least we tried. Yeah, you tried, but you sucked. The FBI director, Christopher Wray, was on Capitol Hill about a week ago. We played the audio for you. He said that the terror threat level with our open border and thousands of people coming in from well-known terrorist countries like Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Syria coming across our borders like they're open, because they are. And the Republicans can't capitalize on the fact that the FBI director said that while we've had an elevated threat level all throughout 2023, now the terror threat level in the United States is at a whole other level, which is barely literate coming from Christopher Wray, the FBI director, a whole other level. You mean that we've never seen a terror threat level like the one that the FBI is allegedly paying attention to now while they're pursuing parents of school children who want to keep their daughters safe at school and Catholics that go to church? By the way, more than 300 Catholic churches have been attacked since the leak of the Dobbs decision from the Supreme Court. But have you heard about any arrests? Are there any trials? The Mississippi burning, there's no media coverage, of course. Amazing stuff. You got madness going on all around you, and the Republicans couldn't capitalize on it if their lives depended on it. Honestly, I didn't even start out this morning being this annoyed with the Republicans, but I took notes and I collected my stories and I came in. And once I started talking about it out loud, I realized, hey, wait a minute. It's the Republicans again doing what Republicans always do. And I've got a great friend, I'm just going to call her M today, who wrote me, as a Catholic, I'm pro-life, but I intend to use your line, they love death more than we love life. The new message is, you win. Now let's move on to all the other important issues. I'll save my soul and you can lose yours. It's better than anything I've heard any of the Republican gurus come up with.